Hey guys, it's Brendan here, and on this channel I wanted to talk a bit about history. To that you may ask, well, what kind of history, Mr. Sir, person? And to that I say, all history. All of it. From Persia to the Ottomans, France to Papa Franco, genocide to more genocide. Wow, isn't history great? My first thing that I want to try and do is do basically a briefing history from 1900 to 1999. Basically, the 20th century history, which is a very important time in human history. It is extremely important, extremely detailed, and it is such an amazing topic. I'm going to go by it by the decades. It's going to be 10 years apart between the things from obviously 1900 to 1909 to 1910 to 1919. You get the gist of it. So that's where we start. I'm going to start from 1900 to 1909, and that'll be this video. I have a pretty good understanding of the 20th century, and I thought it was a good topic to start in. So, without further ado, let's begin. 1900. January 2nd, 1900. The U.S. Secretary John Hay announced the open door policy with Asia. This policy is pretty significant because it began America's influence across the world, and crossing the Pacific was the first step. January 5th, and the theory of the Earth's magnitude and magnetic field is announced. The 14th, Paris holds the World Fair. May 1st, and the Schofield mining disaster happens. May 21st, silly old Russia is invading Manchuria. May 28th, and the Boxer Rebellion begins. This is pretty huge, and I'll have to go into it some other time. On June 30th, the Hoboken Docks fires happened, killing 326 people. Not yet a disaster, but soon to be. The first Zeppelin is flown over Germany. That's July the 2nd, by the way. In September, America basically takes over the Philippines, and in October, Britain just takes over everything they can. By November, the U.S. elections happen, and McKinley is re-elected as president. December is pretty boring. January in Australia is a thing now. February 25th, and Carnegie sells his massive U.S. steel company to J.P. Morgan for $400 million. May 17th, and the Panic of 1901 begins. On September the 2nd, Theodore Roosevelt, current vice president, gives the famous line, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." Lucky for him, in 4 days, McKinley is shot to death in Buffalo, New York. So, well, Theodore's president now, and we all know where that went. Also, I forgot to mention that in March, Wilhelm II of Prussia would survive an assassination attempt. Did I mention that was all 1901? Anyways, now it's 1902. Nothing truly insane happens in this year. It's mainly just Theodore Roosevelt prosecuting companies like, J.P. Morgan and Rockefeller, but nothing real interesting happens. That, and also the first teddy bear was created in November. 1903. The Oxnard strike of 1903 happens in February. The Venezuelan crisis ends. America acquires Guantanamo Bay, which will totally never be used corruptedly at all. March 14th, and Teddy R wants to acquire that area in Panama to build his amazing canal, but Colombia says no. Wapner flood happens, killing well over 200 people in Oregon. That sounds like fun. Looking over this year, the British were mainly just taking over as much as they could. The Ilani Empire was seized, apparently. That's also a year. I have never heard that before. That's why. It was a very early Islamic state in Africa. Also, it was Fulani, not Ulani. I'm sorry, don't hurt me. Okay, November is actually a pretty interesting month in this time period. This is the month that the revolt in Panama occurs. America recognizes the independence of Panama. Colombia tries to retaliate and take back Panama. And then America threatens them with war, sends ships to the border, and basically kicks Colombia out. Then steals the land from Panama and just uses it to make its beautiful, beautiful canal. The Iroquois Theater fire happened in Chicago, killing 600 people. 1903, and the Ford Model A would be created. This would be a particularly unsuccessful model, and Ford wouldn't see really any success until the Model T. 1904. The Great Baltimore Fire happens. Port Arthur is attacked, beginning the Russo-Japanese War. Roger Casement in February would detail his accounts of the Belgian atrocities in the Congo. On February 23rd, America officially gains the territory of the Panama Canal Zone. Nikolai Babarikov is assassinated in Russia. The SS Norge sinks, killing over 600. The 1904 Moscow tornado occurs in June. The third modern Olympic Games begin in St. Louis as part of the World's Fair. I mean, for the rest of this year, it's just Britain conquering stuff again, like they always do. December, the Soviet run on banks occurs and fails horribly. So previously in October, New York opened the first underground subway. My God, we're only to 1905. The Russian Revolution of 1905 occurs. Albert Einstein published a thing. Then Albert Einstein does a bigger thing and publishes his theory on relativity. Also in this year, the first dreadnought was created, the HMS Dreadnought. And also, Las Vegas is created in an auction. 1906. The Columbus mine disaster occurs and kills over 1,000 people in France. The Persian Constitutional Revolution happens. Jack London publishes his most famous novel, White Fang. The Pure Foods and Drugs Act is passed. Germany creates its first submarine, the U-1. On June 7th, the RMS Lusitania is announced. This will become very important as we go into the next decade. Rebellion in Cuba would lead to occupation until 1909. The Hong Kong typhoon and tsunami occurs. What a bad combo, my God. And it ends up killing 10,000 people. SOS becomes the International Distress Signal. 1907. The first ever taxis begin in London. Stalin and his goons go rob a bank to fund the Bolshevik Party. Santa Maria School Massacre occurs in December. Also in this year, Japan just annexes Korea. 1908. First long-distance message is sent from the Eiffel Tower. The Young Turk Revolution occurs. Oh, that is... wow. Despite that some guy in April claimed to have reached the North Pole, some Perry dude decided to do it as well. Some Virginian dude becomes the first person to die in an airplane crash while doing a test drive. 1908, William Howard Taft is elected president. Bulgaria declares independence from the Ottoman Empire because Bulgaria has big dreams. Okay, the rest of this year is just a complete downward spiral for the Ottoman Empire, as is the 1900s. Also, the Tunguska event occurs, if you guys want to do a little bit of your own research on that. It's pretty interesting. 1909, we're finally getting there. Final year. Colombia finally recognizes the independence of Panama. The NAACP is founded in New York. The Anglo-Siamese War ends. The Ottomans begin mass genociding the Armenians in Adana. Nicholas II rises to power in Russia. Finally, Albert I, on December 23rd, becomes the new King of Belgium. And we are over. Thanks for watching, and I will continue this, and I will keep on doing each decades. This was a pretty boring one. Every other decade is way more interesting, and especially the next one, because next one is World War I, and it's basically the death of old empires. This year was just basically everybody taking over everything and nothing really getting done. So the next one will definitely be a lot more interesting, so sorry about how lackluster this one is, but
Okay, I love you, bye-bye.